Good morning and welcome to Wednesday's Early Morning Intuitive Guidance. Of course, as soon as I started the video, my nose got a tickle. So hopefully I'm not sneezing in the middle of this thing. We'll see how it goes. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, here with some words of wisdom to start your day. And what better place to find words of wisdom than outrageous openness? Letting the divine take the lead by Tosha Silver. So I was thinking this morning that we hadn't chatted with her in a while, and that oftentimes there's some very prescient stuff that comes up when we grab the book. Good morning, Nancy. Looks like someone else is here too, but your name's not rolling. Barb. Good morning, Barb. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. Glad we're off to a good start on this fine Wednesday. We'll see what kinds of things we can accomplish. Good morning, Gwen. Welcome, welcome. I have a meeting tonight, so I had to actually put on decent clothes today. Good morning, Joe Neal. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm actually wearing one of my favorite necklaces. Good morning, Catherine. Glad you are here. So, off to a good start today. So let's do some breathing. Good morning, Abigail. Let's start in through the nose, out through the mouth. Good morning, Beth. Welcome. In through the nose, out through the mouth. One more for good measure. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Awesome. Good morning, Ruth Ann. Good morning, Cindy. Welcome, welcome. Everybody rolling in. The practical rebels are gathering. Always good things happen when the practical rebels get together. So, glad to have you all here. And if you have outrageous openness, the page that we're going to be on is, well, in my book, 145, Mundane Miracles and Other Mysteries. Mundane Miracles and Other Mysteries. So this kind of dovetails with some of the stuff I was working on reading, doing yesterday, where the point was made how important it is to feel gratitude for things as they unfold. Like, I think of little things. If I make the green light, if I find a parking spot, whatever it is, being grateful for all those little mundane things, because it opens you up to see, at the very minimum, it opens you up to see all the miracles that are in your life, great and little. At the most, I think it makes us, if you're comfortable with this, which I am, energetically more attractive to drawing in additional miracles. When you appreciate what you have, more comes your way, right? So let's read the Mundane Miracles and Other Mysteries, and then we'll see where it takes us from there. I love these adventures where never quite know where we're going to go. And interestingly, yesterday's card is my little bookmark for today. Mundane Miracles and Other Mysteries. The quote is by Anonymous. I also do that, and I'd say thank you. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. God will make a way out of no way. God will make a way out of no way. And I remember that line. I can't remember who says it. Might be Joe Dispenza. I'm not sure. On The Secret. No, maybe it was Michael Bernard Beckwith. Good morning, Maureen. Glad you're here. But the gist of the saying was just this. When there's no way, no how, God will find a way. Good morning, Mel. Glad you are here. Welcome. We're up to 10. This is awesome. This is awesome. I watched an interesting, here I go off on one of my little tangents. Follow along, people. We'll come back to where we're supposed to be shortly. But I watched one of my influencers on YouTube, one of the thrifty ones, and she did a really cool video recapping her year, where she talked about what did work in her business, what didn't work in her business, literally how much money she had made doing this, because her goal was to make this stuff real. It's not like you're going to drop your job and instantly become an overnight success on YouTube. She's been at this for quite a few years, and she's still not to the point where she will release her part-time job. Good morning, Chrissy. Glad you're here. Actually, it's not a job. She's a contractor, but nonetheless, she can't let go of that yet, or she's choosing not to let go of that yet because she's still building her thrifting business. And it was very interesting watching how her mind processed through. I mean, her mind works very similar to how my mind works. Wait a minute, you weigh this out. This is not a good bet here. Do something different. So, and she actually did something different for 2024 in a very, I'm committed way. I was going to say methodical, but I'm going to say committed way. And the results were there. So now she hones what she did for 2024 into 2025 and gets better results, probably. Because we can't predict the future, right? So here we are back at Mundane Miracles and Other Mysteries. The $700 penthouse. God will make a way out of no way. I am a great believer in what some traditions would call conjuring a miracle. Inviting divine intercession on just about any topic, big or small. Parking spots. People often tell me about situations so overwhelming and complex, their rational minds cannot begin to fathom a way out. Sometimes they're surrounded by friends and family who might even ratchet up their sense of powerlessness and despair. But over the years, I've seen that calling in a miracle can open doors that linear rationality never could. Let's take a breath on that one. Calling in a miracle can open doors that linear rationality never could. Good morning, Linda. Now, I want to combine that with what we read in Brene Brown the other day about the people who double down on stuff that has been proven not to be so. Sometimes that doubling down can actually make something occur, can actually open the door for the miracle. How do we decide, right? How do we decide? Because there are those who, God, what was his name? This is ancient, but back in the 1800s, I think, or 1700s, where he wanted to develop I believe it was a steam-powered paddle wheeler. Fulton's Folly, something like that. Anyway, but they called it his folly. Like, you're nuts, you're going off the deep end, blah, blah, blah. Interesting question for all of us to chew on. How do we decide when we have that focus because we're calling in the miracle and we have faith and trust and it's going to unfold, and when we have gone off the deep end? Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate that. Calling in a miracle can open doors that linear rationality never could. Back to the story. I mentioned earlier that I once spent 3 years in bed with a rare failure of my endocrine system. Eventually, a gifted acupuncturist arrived who restored my health in 9 months. But that wasn't the only miracle. Once my health began returning, I needed a new apartment. While I was bedridden, I honestly didn't care that I lived in a small dark room with a mat on the floor and a hot plate. As I started to feel like a semi-functional human again, I longed for a real home. I had barely been able to work for years and had almost no funds. However, my mind, pliant and awestruck from my recent healing, was wide open to be surprised. How great that almost no one was around me to tell me how unrealistic this was. In our best efforts, our misguided efforts to be of support to friends, etc., how often do we, as family and friends, say to somebody, "Are you sure about that? I can't see that working." When my friend Kayleen was starting to do retreats, women's retreats to Mexico, her family, in their love for her, were like, "Are you sure about this?" kind of thing. Yes, that's stepping into the unknown. No longer missing opportunities due to fear of the unknown. Yes. Because let's say you step into an opportunity. Let's say, and this wasn't the case, but let's say Kayleen had stepped into going to Mexico, setting up a retreat, and it was a wild-ass failure. She still was in Mexico. She attempted something new. She put her foot out onto the path in a way she never had before. She would have met a bunch of people. She would have lost a bunch of money. Oh well, on we go. That's not what happened. I went. We had a great retreat. But if we're not willing to ever step out into that unknown, nothing changes. Or if it changes in ways that aren't fun. Like the universe puts its foot squarely in the middle of our back and kicks. Your partner registers for a divorce. Someone dies unexpectedly. You lose your job. Whatever, right? So when we're willing to meet the universe halfway, awesome things happen. Yes, no longer missing opportunities due to fear of the unknown. Take a breath and step forward. All right, so let's see what we got here. How great it was that almost no one was around to tell me how unrealistic this was, or remind me of the astronomical San Francisco housing market. I was wholeheartedly and fully receptive to a miracle. Geez, I had just returned from the dead. I had nothing to lose. Can you imagine being down and out for 3 years with something that it probably took them, because it was an endocrine disorder, probably took them quite some time to diagnose, right? One day I was on a short walk in my Richmond neighborhood. 3 blocks from my cave on Geary, I saw a sign, penthouse for rent. A tall, swarthy, genial-looking guy stood nearby. Want to come up and see? He asked, grinning. Well, I can't imagine how I would ever afford such a place, I laughed ruefully. But why not? You never know. The openness to receiving. Yes, he agreed, beaming. That's one damn thing for sure in this life. You just never know. We went upstairs and the place was astonishing. Not only large, but with floor-to-ceiling views of the Golden Gate Bridge. Vaulted skylights, hardwood floors, vibrant energy. Good morning, Kathy. Glad you're here. I don't even dare ask how much this costs, I sighed. Well, what are you paying right now? He asked. And here's what happened. While the apartment was supposed to be rented for a couple of $1,000s a month, this angel gave it to me for just $200 more than my current hovel. He said, I'm from Syria. I grew up in the Damascus streets and learned by the age of 4 to read someone's character on the spot. It's a matter of life and death, you know. The minute you walked up, I knew 3 things. I could trust you, you'd been through a disaster, and I wanted you to live here. You were perfect. So that's how Divine Order brought me San Francisco penthouse for the next 3 years, the absolute right stretch of time. Eventually the building was converted to condos and I passed it on to a friend who bought it. Sometimes reality is terribly unrealistic. So, again, probably a lot of you are going to go, well, how do I know when it's this or that? You don't. You don't. But listen within. Pay attention within. There's an event that unfolded with the election where someone who I follow was, over the course of time, absolutely convinced the result would be the opposite of what it was. And as a seer, as a reader, was devastated when it went the other way. Came to her followers and was totally apologetic and said that she had discerned that because her heart and soul so much wanted it to be the other result, that she had misread the cues that were there to begin with. So she stated that she was going to move forward. Here's the learning, that she was going to move forward with paying attention to when her own investment in something was mucking up the reading. Absolutely powerful, right? Absolutely useful. Plus, I think it also helped a lot of people get through the build-up to the end result. So, What do we learn? From our apparent missteps, what do we learn? Step forward anyway. If your guidance is, this is the path I'm supposed to take, and it goes haywire in your estimation, that doesn't mean that the guidance was wrong or the guidance wasn't there and you were misreading it. You needed to have that particular outcome, that stumble in the darkness, as it were. What did you learn? What did you learn? And now on your path, your next steps into more unknown, how will that serve you? Hopefully it doesn't make you fearful to again take another step. If something kind of crappy comes out of the step that you felt was guided, learn from that crappy thing and take a next step. Take a next step in faith. In faith. The crappy things that happen in our lives happen for us, not to us, for us. So we want to release ourselves from victim stance, release ourselves from playing not to lose, and step into our power, our wisdom, our guidance, stepping confidently forward. Sometimes it's a little creaky in the knees, but as confidently forward on that unknown path as we can be, knowing that we're going to learn something. And if we take the step, we are doing what we can do to help ourselves learn something. Step forward in faith. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. says, step forward in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Have an awesome Wednesday, y'all. Let's see what happens in between. We'll see you tomorrow. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. Bye-bye.